Have you ever felt like you're standing on the edge of something monumental, yet you can't seem to grasp it? You've prayed for answers, sought direction, and longed for breakthrough, but still the path ahead seems unclear. Maybe you've been waiting for years, and in your heart you wonder if God is listening. You ask the Lord, where are you in all of this? But I want you to hear this truth. God has not forgotten you, and his answer is closer than you think. You may be standing at the threshold of something incredible, and you may not even know it yet. You see, God's call is often not an obvious, loud declaration. It is a whisper in the midst of life's chaos, a gentle nudge in the quiet of our hearts. It's easy to miss if you're not tuned into the stillness of his voice. But let me tell you this, God is closer than you think, and his answer to your prayers is nearer than you can imagine. You may have been waiting for years, feeling like God has been silent or distant. Perhaps you've even questioned whether he's heard you at all. But I am here to tell you, my friend, that God's timing is perfect, and he is at work in ways you cannot yet see. What you need right now is a shift in perspective. You need to understand that God's call is not a far-off promise, but a present reality. It's easy to become discouraged when we can't see immediate results. We live in a world that values instant gratification, where waiting feels like an unbearable burden. We are trained to expect things quickly, to see answers immediately. But let me remind you that God's work is not governed by the same timeline we live by. His ways are higher. His plans are greater. He sees the beginning from the end, and he knows exactly what you need when you need it. The truth is, the answer you've been waiting for could be just around the corner, and you might be closer than you think. I want to take you to a moment in the Bible, a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. The story of the Israelites at the Red Sea. They had been in captivity for hundreds of years, and they finally had their deliverance. Yet as they stood before the Red Sea, they found themselves in an impossible situation. The water stretched out before them. The Egyptian army was closing in behind them, and there seemed to be no way forward. Can you imagine how they must have felt? They had been waiting for freedom for so long, yet now they were trapped, stuck in a moment where it seemed like everything was falling apart. But listen closely to what happened next. God spoke, and the waters parted. The very thing that looked like an obstacle became the way forward. This is how God works. He doesn't always make the path clear at the beginning. He doesn't always show you the answer when you ask for it. But he is faithful. He is faithful. And when you trust him, when you remain faithful even in the waiting, he will make a way where there seems to be no way. His answer is closer than you think. In fact, it may already be on the way. The delay you're experiencing is not a denial. It is a divine orchestration of his plan for your life. God's call is not something distant or unattainable. It's not a far-off dream that will only be realized in some distant future. His call is right here, right now. The answer to your prayers, the breakthrough you've been longing for, is closer than you could ever imagine. All it takes is a shift in your heart, a willingness to trust him in the unknown. You may not understand the timing, but you don't have to. You just have to trust the one who holds the future. There are times when it seems as though God's promises are taking too long to be fulfilled. You might be wondering why you haven't seen the answers you've prayed for. But the Bible tells us in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. Even in the waiting, God is working. Even in the silence, God is moving. And when his perfect time comes, he will show up in ways you never expected. You see, God's call on your life is not something to be feared or avoided. It's something to be embraced. The answer you've been waiting for might be closer than you realize. And when it arrives, it will bring with it peace, fulfillment, and a deeper sense of purpose than you've ever known. But here's the key. In the waiting, you must remain faithful. You must continue to seek his will, continue to pray, continue to trust. And when the answer comes, you will be ready to step into the destiny that God has been preparing for you all along. So I encourage you today, don't lose heart in the waiting. Don't give up on the promises of God just because the answer hasn't come yet. Trust that God is at work behind the scenes, preparing you, preparing the circumstances, preparing everything you need for what's ahead. His timing is perfect. His answer is on the way. And the breakthrough you've been praying for is closer than you think. Stay faithful, stay hopeful, and keep your eyes fixed on him. The answer is coming, and when it does, you'll know that it was worth the wait. God is calling you, my friend, and his call is closer than you think. I know many of you are listening right now, feeling like you've been standing still for too long, wondering, when, Lord? When is the answer going to come? I can hear the frustration in your hearts, the longing for something to change, for something to shift. And let me tell you, I understand that feeling. We all go through seasons of waiting, and it can feel as though the silence is deafening, the uncertainty unbearable. But what if I told you that the delay is not a denial? What if I told you that God is still working, even in the silence? You see, God's call on your life does not come with an immediate timeline that fits your schedule. It doesn't always make sense in the moment. But when you understand that God's timing is perfect, you'll begin to see that his answer is often closer than you think. I want you to think about the story of the prophet Elijah. There he was, standing in the wilderness, feeling completely alone, and yet God was still speaking to him. In 1 Kings 19, God didn't speak to Elijah through the loud winds or the fire, but in a still, small voice. How often do we miss God's call because we're looking for the big, dramatic moments? How often do we overlook his guidance because we expect him to answer in a way that fits our expectations? I want to remind you today that God's answer may not always come in the form you expect, but it is always on time. Maybe you're facing a situation in your life where you've prayed and prayed, but it feels like God is silent. The breakthrough you've been waiting for feels like it's just out of reach. But I want to remind you that in the midst of the silence, God is at work. He's preparing something greater than you can imagine. His timing is not our timing, and his ways are not our ways. He doesn't operate on the same clock that we do. We may look at our circumstances and think, God, why is this taking so long? But God sees the bigger picture. He sees what we cannot yet see. And in the waiting, he is preparing you for something beyond your comprehension. There's a truth that we must hold on to. God's delays are not denials. When God makes you wait, it's because he's preparing you. He's molding you, shaping you, and working in ways that you cannot yet understand. You may not see it now, but trust me, when the answer comes, you'll see that every moment of waiting was necessary to bring you to the place where you can receive what he has prepared for you. Consider the story of the Israelites, wandering in the desert for 40 years. Can you imagine how it must have felt to be in that wilderness day after day, with nothing but the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey? But God had a purpose for their waiting. He wasn't punishing them. He was preparing them. God promised Abraham that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky, but he didn't see that promise fulfilled immediately. In fact, it took many years for Abraham and Sarah to see the birth of their son, Isaac. Yet in that time of waiting, Abraham learned to trust God's promises. He learned that God's timing is never late. It's always right on time, and so it is with you. When God calls you to wait, it is not because he is being silent or distant. It's because he is preparing you. He is preparing you for the moment when his answer comes, and he wants you to be ready. Waiting doesn't mean that God is ignoring you. In fact, it often means he's working in ways you can't yet see. Now, I know that waiting can be difficult. It can feel like you're walking through the wilderness with no end in sight. And when you look around, it's easy to become discouraged. You may see others around you receiving their answers, their breakthroughs, their blessings, and you wonder, why not me? But let me assure you, God has not forgotten you. In the time of waiting, he's working on your behalf. And the answer you're longing for is closer than you think. You see, sometimes we confuse waiting with inactivity. We believe that because we haven't received the answer, nothing is happening. But I want to tell you today that waiting is not passive. It's not the absence of action. It's the action of faith. When God calls you to wait, he's asking you to trust him more deeply, to believe that he is at work even when you can't see it. Your waiting is not wasted. It is a vital part of your journey. Think of the farmer who plants a seed in the ground. He doesn't plant it and then immediately dig it up to see if it's growing. He trusts that in the right time that seed will grow and produce fruit. And so it is with your prayers. You plant them in faith, and though you may not see the results immediately, God is working beneath the surface, bringing about the harvest at the right time. There's a passage in Isaiah that says, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength." When you wait on God, your strength is renewed. You might not feel it in the moment, but I assure you, God is strengthening you as you wait. He is building endurance in you. He is fortifying your faith. And when the answer comes, you will be stronger, wiser, and more ready to receive it than you would have been if it had come any sooner. One of the reasons why waiting is so important is because it prepares us for what's to come. If we received everything we asked for the moment we asked for it, we wouldn't be prepared to handle it. God knows what we can handle. He knows what we need, and He knows the best timing for everything in our lives. He doesn't want to give you the answer too soon because He wants you to be ready for the blessing. Think about the Israelites. God promised them the land of Canaan, but He didn't give it to them right away. Instead, He led them through the wilderness, teaching them, preparing them, and testing them along the way. Only when they were ready did He bring them into the promised land. So, when you find yourself waiting, remember that God is preparing you. He is preparing your heart, your mind, and your spirit to receive what He has in store for you. The waiting isn't a punishment. It's a process of growth. It's God's way of ensuring that when the answer comes, you'll be able to handle it with grace, with wisdom, and with humility. You'll be ready to walk in the fullness of the blessing He has for you. In your waiting, God is refining you. He is strengthening your character. He is teaching you patience, perseverance, and trust. And when the answer comes, you'll be able to look back and see that the waiting wasn't a detour, but a necessary part of the journey. The delay was part of the plan. But don't miss this. God's call to you is always followed by His provision. Just as He called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, He provided everything Moses needed along the way. He will provide for you as well. In the waiting, He will give you the strength to endure, the wisdom to navigate the challenges, and the grace to trust Him in the process. When the time is right, God's answer will come. You may not know when it will come, but you can trust that it will come at the perfect time. And when it does, you will see that it was worth the wait. The waiting was not in vain. It was God's way of preparing you for the blessing He had in store for you all along. So keep trusting Him. Keep waiting on Him. Don't grow weary in the waiting, because the answer you've been praying for is closer than you think. And when it comes, it will be more than you could have ever imagined. Trust in God's timing because it's perfect. Trust in His plan because it's good. And remember, He has not forgotten you. He is with you in the waiting, and He will bring you through to the other side. When God calls, He calls with a purpose. It's not an accident. It's not a random decision. He doesn't ask you to wait or walk through difficulties without a plan in mind. He has a purpose for every step, for every moment, even for every delay. And while you might be questioning why God hasn't answered your prayer yet, let me assure you that there is a reason. There is a purpose, and that purpose is unfolding right before your eyes, even if you can't yet see it. God's call is always with purpose. When God called Moses to lead His people out of Egypt, Moses didn't understand all the details. He didn't see how he was going to do it. He didn't even want to do it. But God's purpose was clear. He had a plan that was far bigger than Moses could comprehend at that moment. God was working in the background, preparing everything for that moment. And when the time was right, Moses was called to lead, and God worked miracles through him. You see, God's calling always involves preparation. It involves a process of transforming your heart, molding your character, and developing your faith. And there is no way around that process. It's not easy. It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. God doesn't give us answers right away because He's teaching us to trust Him. He's teaching us to believe, to have faith in His promises, even when we can't see how it's all going to work out. And as you wait, as you trust, God is building something in you that can't be built any other way. It's through the waiting that your faith is strengthened. It's through the waiting that your trust in God grows deeper. And this is important. God's call is not always about what He's doing in the world around you, but about what He's doing in you. When God calls, He's asking you to grow. He's asking you to rise to the challenge of trusting Him even when you can't see the outcome. He's asking you to grow in patience, in faith, and in understanding. And that process of growth is essential because when you're called to something bigger, something greater, you have to be ready. You have to be prepared to handle the blessing, the responsibility, the challenges that come with it. Many of us have a tendency to get impatient, don't we? We want things to happen on our timetable. We want the breakthrough now. We want the promise fulfilled yesterday. But God doesn't work that way. He doesn't operate on our schedule. He operates on His perfect timing. And that timing is always right, it's always perfect. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph had a dream. God gave him a vision of greatness, of influence, and of leadership. But what followed wasn't a straight path to the throne. It was a winding road filled with betrayal, hardship, and suffering. He was sold into slavery by his brothers. He was thrown into prison. And yet in all of that, God was working. He was preparing Joseph for the moment when He would raise him up to be the second in command of Egypt. God had a plan, and the same is true for you. His plan is unfolding right now, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when you can't see it, even when the road ahead seems uncertain. Trust in God's timing. Trust that He is working in ways you can't yet understand. You might be waiting right now. You might be in a season of struggle, of unanswered prayers, and of confusion. But let me remind you, God's call is still on your life. His promise is still true. And even when you can't see the way forward, He is with you. He is guiding you, shaping you, and preparing you for the moment when the breakthrough comes. And when that moment comes, when the answer to your prayer arrives, you will know that it was worth the wait. You will look back and see the hand of God at work. You will see how every delay, every obstacle, every setback was part of God's divine plan. It was all part of His perfect timing. God's timing is not a denial. It's a preparation. It's a process. It's a way of building you into the person He needs you to be. And when you are ready, when the time is right, He will bring you into the promise He has for you. And you will be able to say with confidence that God's timing was perfect. There's another thing that I want you to remember, and that's the fact that God's call is not just about the destination. It's about the journey. We live in a world that is obsessed with results, with instant gratification. We want everything now. But God is more concerned with who you become along the way. He is shaping your heart, your character, and your faith as you walk with Him. And when you look back on the journey, you will see that it was the journey that prepared you for the destination. So while you may be waiting right now, remember that the waiting is not wasted. It's not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's a sign that He is preparing you for something greater. And as you wait, I encourage you to trust Him. Trust His timing, trust His process. Know that God is working in you, even in the waiting. The answer you've been waiting for is closer than you think. It's just around the corner. And when it comes, you will see that it was worth every moment of waiting. You will see that God's timing was perfect. So keep trusting, keep waiting, and keep believing. The breakthrough is coming. And when it does, you will know that it was worth every step of the journey. When we are waiting on the Lord, it often feels like we are in a wilderness. We're walking through a desert, struggling with doubt, uncertainty, and sometimes even loneliness. It feels like the heavens are silent. The answers we seek don't come as quickly as we had hoped. But let me remind you of something. God is always present, even when it seems like He is far away. Even when you feel abandoned, even when you feel as though God isn't listening, He is working in your life in ways that you may not understand right now. And in those moments when the waiting feels unbearable, He is drawing you closer to Him. He is teaching you to trust Him in a deeper way. Think of the Israelites as they wandered through the wilderness. For 40 years they journeyed through barren land, facing hunger, thirst, and constant challenges. They often questioned God's plan for them. They doubted His promises and wondered if He had forgotten them. Yet even in their doubts, God was with them. He never left them. He provided for them. And in the process, He was shaping their hearts, building their faith, and preparing them for the promised land. They couldn't see it at the time, but every step in the wilderness was part of God's plan. He was preparing them for something far greater than they could comprehend. And let me tell you this today, God is doing the same in your life. You may be in a season of waiting right now. You may be in a desert place, a place where it seems like your prayers are unanswered and your hopes are delayed to the But I promise you that God has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned you. He is using this time to prepare you, to strengthen you, and to mold you into the person He needs you to be for the blessings that are coming. God's call on your life is not a mistake. It is not a coincidence. He has called you for a purpose, and that purpose is unfolding even as you wait. It's so easy to become discouraged when we're in a season of waiting. We look around and it seems like everyone else is moving forward. They're receiving their breakthroughs, their answers, and their blessings, while we remain stuck. But don't let that discourage you. God's timing is perfect, and He is working in your life right now, even when you can't see it. Just because things aren't happening on your timetable doesn't mean they won't happen at all. You see, when God calls you, He also prepares you. Preparation is essential for what He has in store for you. Think of the life of David. David was anointed as king long before he ever took the throne. God called him, but there were years of waiting, years of trials, years of hardship, and even years of running for his life. Yet through it all, God was preparing David for his destiny. He was teaching David how to lead, how to trust, and how to rely on God's strength, not his own. And when the time came when David was ready, God placed him on the throne. That's how God works in our lives. He calls us, He gives us a vision. But He also prepares us. And that preparation process is never quick. It takes time. It takes trust. It takes the willingness to endure through the challenges and the delays. But I promise you this, when the time comes, you will see why the waiting was necessary. You will understand why God allowed the delays. You will see how every step, every trial, every moment of waiting was part of His perfect plan. You might be asking, why does God make us wait? Why can't He just give us what we want right now? That's a fair question, and one that many of us have asked in our own moments of frustration. But the answer is this: God's timing is always about more than just giving us what we want. It's about what He wants to do in us. It's about shaping our hearts, building our faith, and preparing us for the blessings He has in store. You see, if we always got what we wanted when we wanted it, we wouldn't grow. We wouldn't learn to trust God. We wouldn't develop the character we need to handle the responsibilities that come with His blessings. God's delays are not denials. They are His way of preparing us. He knows what we need. He knows when we are ready. And He knows that the waiting will ultimately lead to something far greater than we could ever imagine. When God calls you, He doesn't just call you to receive a blessing. He calls you to be a blessing to others. He calls you to be a vessel of His love, His truth, and His power. And that calling requires a certain level of maturity, a certain level of faith, and a certain level of endurance. That's why God allows the waiting. He is strengthening your faith. He is preparing you to carry the weight of the blessings He has for you. Don't become discouraged in the waiting. Don't grow weary. Keep trusting. Keep believing. Keep praying. And most importantly, keep walking, because the answer to your prayers is closer than you think. God is working behind the scenes, preparing the way for you. The breakthrough is coming, but God is using this time to prepare you for it. He is using this time to refine you, to purify you, and to make you ready for the fullness of His promises. I know it's hard to wait. I know it feels like the waiting will never end. But I want to remind you of this: God is always faithful. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. And when the time is right, He will bring the breakthrough you've been waiting for. So keep trusting, keep believing, keep waiting, because God's call on your life is not a mistake. His timing is perfect, and the answer is closer than you think. When you feel the weight of waiting pressing down on you, it's important to remember that God is not a passive observer in your life. He's not sitting on the sidelines watching you struggle, doing nothing. God is active. He is at work in ways that you cannot see, preparing the answer to your prayers, and more importantly, preparing you for what He has in store. You see, God's delays are not His denials, and the fact that you are waiting doesn't mean that God has forgotten you, or that He is indifferent to your needs. Far from it! He is present with you in the waiting, just as He has been with His people throughout history. Take the story of Abraham, for example. God promised him a son. A promise that Abraham held onto for years. He was given a vision of becoming the father of many nations. Yet for years it seemed as if the promise would never come to pass. It must have been incredibly difficult for Abraham. I'm sure he wondered, God, why are you making me wait? Why hasn't your promise come true yet? But God's timing was perfect. And when Abraham was nearly 100 years old, God fulfilled His promise, giving Abraham and Sarah the son they had longed for. That child, Isaac, became the father of a great nation, the nation of Israel. And through Abraham's faithfulness, we see that God's delays always have a purpose, even when we don't understand them at the time. Abraham's story isn't unique. Throughout the Bible, we see many examples of God's people waiting for his promises to be fulfilled. Joseph waited in prison, not knowing when or how he would ever be freed. But his time of waiting ultimately led to him being second in command in Egypt, saving his family and the entire nation from famine. Moses waited in the wilderness, tending sheep for 40 years. But during that time, God was preparing him to lead his people out of slavery in Egypt. David waited as a shepherd, anointed as king but not yet crowned. But in each of these situations, God's timing was perfect. And when the appointed time came, he used their waiting to shape them, to strengthen them, and to fulfill his purpose in their lives. And just as he did with Abraham, Moses, Joseph, and David, he is doing the same for you. You may be in a season of waiting, but that does not mean God has forgotten you. It does not mean that his promises are not true. It simply means that he is preparing you. He is refining you. He is molding you into the person he needs you to be for the blessings that are coming. And though the waiting may seem long, though it may feel as if nothing is happening, God is working behind the scenes. He is orchestrating the details of your life, bringing everything together in his perfect timing. Sometimes God calls us to wait because there are lessons he wants us to learn. He wants us to learn to trust in him, to rely on him, to lean on his strength when we feel weak. Waiting stretches our faith. It teaches us patience. It teaches us endurance. And it teaches us that we are not in control. God is. We may think we know what's best for our lives, and we may have a plan in mind, but God knows what's best. He sees the bigger picture. He knows the future. And he is leading us step by step, guiding us along the path he has set before us. Waiting is not wasted time. It is a time of preparation. No, it's a time when God is refining our character, purifying our hearts, and building our faith. The process of waiting may feel painful, but it is in the waiting that God prepares us for what lies ahead. He is teaching us to trust him even when we don't understand, to hold on to his promises even when they seem delayed, and to keep our eyes fixed on him, knowing that he is faithful to complete the work he has begun in us. Perhaps you are waiting for a breakthrough in your life, a breakthrough in your finances, your relationships, your health, or your career. Maybe you've been praying for years, and it seems like nothing is changing. It's easy to become discouraged in those times. But I want to encourage you today to keep pressing forward, keep praying, keep believing, because the answer you've been waiting for is closer than you think. God is at work. He is never idle. He is working behind the scenes, and his timing is perfect. Remember, God is not bound by time as we are. He doesn't operate according to our schedules. He works in seasons. There are seasons of planting, and there are seasons of harvesting. But before the harvest comes, there must be a time of waiting. There must be a time when the seed is planted in the soil, when it is watered, when it is nurtured, and when it grows in secret. We can't always see the growth, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. And when the time is right, when the fruit is ready, God will bring forth the harvest in your life. If you feel like your waiting has been too long, remember that God is never late. He is always on time, and when he answers, it will be worth the wait. The blessings, the breakthroughs, the promises, everything he has promised you will come to pass in his perfect timing. Just as God was faithful to Abraham, Moses, David, and all those who came before us, he will be faithful to you. Trust him in the waiting. Trust him when the journey feels long. Trust that he is preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. So I say to you today, don't grow weary in the waiting. Don't lose heart. Keep trusting in God's timing. Keep believing that he is working in your life. Keep praying, keep seeking, and keep waiting. Because the answer is coming. The breakthrough is near, and God's call on your life is closer than you think. There are moments in our lives when we feel as though God has forgotten us. The world seems to keep moving on, while we are left standing still, waiting. It's as though we're on the edge of something, but we can't quite reach it. We pray and pray, but the breakthrough seems distant, unreachable. Yet it's in these very moments that God is teaching us something valuable, something we cannot learn in any other way. When you are waiting, it can feel as though the doors are shut and your prayers are not being answered. But I want you to hear me today. Just because the answer hasn't come yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. God works in ways that often go beyond our understanding. We live in a world where we are used to quick answers and instant results. But God is not bound by our world's timeline. He's working on something far greater, and sometimes the waiting is just as important as the answer itself. Think about the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. God had promised them the land of Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. But between the promise and the fulfillment of that promise was a long journey. The Israelites wandered for 40 years in the desert. Now it's easy for us to look at that story and think, why did it take so long? But the truth is, God was not only preparing the land for His people, He was preparing His people for the land. He was shaping them, refining them, teaching them to trust in His provision, to obey His commands, and to believe that He would bring them into the promised land. The same is true for you today. The answer you're waiting for, the breakthrough you've been longing for, it's closer than you think. But you must be ready to receive it. And readiness often requires a time of preparation. It requires waiting. It requires learning to trust God in ways you never thought possible. God is teaching you, molding you, and shaping you into the person who will be able to steward the blessings He has for you. As you wait, remember that God's timing is perfect. He knows exactly when the moment is right. There are things happening in the spiritual realm that you cannot see, and He is orchestrating everything for your good. Just as a farmer cannot rush the growth of crops, neither can you rush the work that God is doing in your life. There is a season for everything, season for sowing, a season for growing, and a season for reaping. And right now, in the season of waiting, God is growing something in you that will be crucial for the breakthrough He has for you. Sometimes, in our impatience, we try to make things happen on our own. We take matters into our own hands, thinking we can hurry God's plan along. But when we do that, we only delay the very thing we're hoping for. I want to remind you that God does not need our help to fulfill His promises. His plans are perfect, and they will come to pass in His time. You can't rush it, and you don't need to. What you need is faith to wait, faith to trust, and faith to believe that even when you can't see what's happening, God is at work. Now, I know that waiting isn't easy. It's hard, it's frustrating. It feels like the clock is ticking and nothing is moving forward. But I want you to hold on to this truth. God is working in the waiting. You may not feel it. You may not see it. But trust me when I say that He is always working on your behalf. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, and who raised the dead is the same God who is working in your life today. His power has not diminished. His love for you has not wavered. He is faithful to fulfill every promise He has made to you. And in His time, He will bring about the answer you have been waiting for. We have to remember that God's delays are not denials. When He says, wait, He is not saying no. He is saying, I have something better, and I need you to be prepared to receive it. The waiting is not wasted. The waiting is part of His plan for your life. It is in the waiting that God refines your character, that He deepens your faith, and that He teaches you to depend on Him in ways you never could before. Waiting is the training ground for your destiny. As you wait, there are things God wants you to do. He doesn't want you to be passive in the waiting. He wants you to continue to seek Him, to continue to trust Him, to continue to follow His lead. The waiting is not an excuse to sit back and do nothing. It's a time to deepen your relationship with God, to grow in your understanding of His Word, and to strengthen your faith. God wants you to be ready for the blessings that He is bringing into your life. He doesn't want to give you the answer until He knows that you're ready to receive it. So keep trusting, keep praying, keep believing, and know this, your waiting is not in vain. God is preparing something incredible for you, and it's closer than you think. In the meantime, trust in His timing, trust in His faithfulness. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, even when you can't see it. And when the time is right, the breakthrough will come. You will walk into the fullness of God's promises, and it will be more than you ever imagined. I know that waiting is not easy, but I want to encourage you today. You are closer than you think. The answer is on its way, the breakthrough is near. And when it comes, you will see that the waiting was worth it. God is faithful, and He will fulfill His promises to you. Keep holding on. Keep trusting. And keep waiting, because your breakthrough is coming, and it's closer than you think. I want to speak to you about something that might not be easy to hear, but I believe it's essential. Many of us, when we're in the midst of waiting, start to ask ourselves, what have I done wrong? Why am I still waiting? We look around us and it seems like others are moving forward and we feel stuck. But let me tell you something. Just because it seems like others are advancing doesn't mean God is neglecting you. God's delays are not denials. There is a purpose in the waiting, and that purpose is not always immediately clear to us. I'm reminded of the story of Joseph. You know, Joseph had a dream. He had a promise from God, and he knew that God had great things in store for him. But do you know what happened after Joseph received that promise? He was thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. And through all of this, God remained silent. For years, Joseph waited. He waited in pain, in confusion, and hardship. But God was working in those moments of waiting. He was shaping Joseph's character, preparing him for the position of power he would one day hold. And when the time was right, Joseph was brought out of the prison and into the palace. I wonder, could it be that God has used your waiting to shape your character, to prepare you for the greatness He has in store for you? It's easy to become disheartened when the answer doesn't come immediately, but God is preparing you for something far greater than you could ever imagine. You see, the greater the calling, the longer the preparation. Joseph didn't know it at the time, but every moment in that pit and in that prison was part of the process that would bring him to his destiny. Now I know that some of you are thinking, I've been waiting for so long. How much longer, Lord? When will it be my time? I want to remind you that God is never late. He is always right on time. The delay is not a denial. It is a part of God's perfect plan. His timing is beyond our comprehension. We are constrained by time, but God is not. He sees the end from the beginning, and He is working things out in your life according to His perfect plan. When you're in the waiting season, it's easy to become anxious. You start to wonder if you missed something, or if you've been forgotten. But let me assure you that God has not forgotten you. He knows your name. He knows your heart, and He knows what you need when you need it. The waiting is not an indication that God has abandoned you. On the contrary, it's a sign that God is preparing something far greater for you than you could ever imagine. You just need to trust in His timing and continue to walk in obedience, even when the road seems unclear. It's in the waiting that God refines us. It's in the waiting that we learn to rely on Him completely. If everything came easily, if everything happened quickly, we wouldn't develop the strength and character that God desires for us. It's in the struggle, in the waiting, that we grow. We learn to trust when we can't see the way ahead. We learn to believe when things don't make sense. We learn to pray when the answers don't come. And as we wait, we are being transformed. Think about the early disciples of Jesus. After Jesus was crucified, they were filled with confusion and fear. They didn't understand what had happened. They thought their hopes were dashed. But Jesus had promised them the Holy Spirit. And after He ascended into heaven, they were told to wait. They didn't know how long they would wait. They didn't know what to expect. But they obeyed and they waited. And then on the day of Pentecost, the Holy Spirit came in power and the disciples were transformed. They received power, boldness, and a new understanding of God's purpose for their lives. That's what happens when we wait on God's timing. We are not just waiting for the answer. We are waiting for God to equip us, to fill us, to transform us so that when the answer does come, we are ready to receive it. God doesn't want us to rush through the process. He wants us to be fully prepared for what He is about to do in our lives. If we rush through the waiting, we may miss the lessons He wants to teach us. So I encourage you today, don't despise the waiting. Don't rush it. Instead, embrace it. Use this time to draw closer to God. Use this time to pray, to read His Word, and to seek His guidance. As you wait, God is working in you. He is preparing you for the next season of your life. And when the time is right, He will bring the breakthrough you've been waiting for. But remember this, while you're waiting for the answer, God is waiting for you. He's waiting for you to trust Him more fully. He's waiting for you to rely on His wisdom, to lean into His strength, and to believe that He is good, even when the waiting is hard. Trust in His plan, trust in His timing, and trust that He will not leave you in the waiting. He is with you every step of the way. And when the breakthrough finally comes, when the answer you've been praying for is delivered, you'll look back and realize that the waiting was worth it. You'll see that God's timing was perfect, that He knew exactly what He was doing all along. And you will be ready to receive His blessing because He has prepared you through the waiting. So hold on. Don't give up. Keep trusting, keep praying, and keep waiting. Your breakthrough is coming and it's closer than you think. But more than that, God is preparing you for the greatness He has in store. And when the time is right, He will make everything beautiful in its season. As we continue this journey together, I want to remind you of a powerful truth that you may not have realized yet. In the moments of waiting, God is teaching us to look beyond what is temporary and to set our hearts on the eternal. You see, God's purpose for our lives isn't just about answering our prayers in the way we expect. His greater purpose is to mold us, to shape us, and to help us grow in ways we may never understand until we look back at it later. When we're going through the waiting, it can feel as though God is distant. It may seem as though He is silent. But let me tell you something. God is never distant. God is never silent. It's in these times, in our waiting, that we must hold on to His promises, for His word is unchanging, and it is filled with hope. He is working in ways we cannot always see. He is shaping us in ways that will prepare us for the future He has planned for us. And when it happens, you will look back and see that everything, even the waiting, was part of His perfect plan. Remember, His call to you is real. The answer you've been waiting for is closer than you think. Trust in God's perfect timing. Keep your eyes on Him and hold fast to His promises. And know that He will never let you down. He is faithful, and He will come through for you. As we come to the final moments of this message, I want you to take a deep breath and reflect on what we've talked about. You've heard that God's timing is not always our timing, that He's working behind the scenes, and that His plans for you are far greater than anything you can imagine. But there is one more thing that I need you to understand. It's a truth that will carry you through every challenge, every waiting season, and every moment of doubt you may face. God's call on your life is not random. It is intentional. It is deeply personal. And it is exactly what you need, even if it doesn't seem that way in the moment. You may be facing a season of waiting right now, waiting for answers, waiting for breakthrough. But let me assure you, your waiting is not a punishment. It is not God ignoring your prayers. It is God in His perfect love and wisdom preparing you for something far better than what you could imagine for yourself. In the moments when it feels like nothing is happening, I want you to remember that God is always at work, even when we can't see it. The Bible tells us in Philippians 1:6, being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. God doesn't start a work in your life and leave it unfinished. If He has begun something in you, He will bring it to completion. His timing, though, is perfect, and it may not always match our expectations. Think back to the great figures of faith who have walked this journey before you. Men and women who faced long seasons of waiting, yet never gave up on the promises of God. They knew, as you must know today, that God's promises are true. He is faithful to fulfill them in His time. Consider Joseph, a young man who was given a dream from God. He dreamt of greatness, but that dream led him into a pit, then to slavery, and eventually to prison. It looked like his life had fallen apart, but in reality, God was using every hardship to prepare him for the position of power and influence he would one day hold. Joseph didn't understand the timing of God. But when the time was right, God opened the door for him to fulfill his destiny. Joseph's faith never wavered in the waiting. He held on to the promise, and in the end, God fulfilled it in a way that no one could have imagined. And let's not forget David, who was anointed by God to be king, but had to wait for years before he took the throne. In the meantime, he faced countless battles, not only with enemies, but within his own heart. Yet through every trial, God was preparing him to be the kind of king that Israel needed, a king after God's own heart. David trusted God through the waiting, and when the time came, he stepped into his calling with a deeper understanding of who God is and what He wanted to accomplish through him. These stories are not just historical accounts. They are reminders to you that God is faithful to fulfill His promises, no matter how long it takes. If you are in a season of waiting right now, know that it is not a sign of rejection. It is simply God working in ways that you cannot see. Just as a seed must be buried in the ground before it can grow into something beautiful, Your time of waiting is preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. I know that in the midst of waiting, it's easy to become discouraged. We wonder why it's taking so long. We may question if God has forgotten us or if we've done something wrong. But let me tell you this. God has not forgotten you. He sees you. He knows your heart, your desires, and your struggles. He is not withholding good things from you. He is working in you and through you, preparing you for a future that is far greater than what you could imagine. God's answer to your prayers may not come in the form you expect, but it will always come at the right time. In the waiting, He is building your character, your faith, and your trust in Him. He is teaching you to rely on His strength, not your own. He is teaching you that His timing is perfect, and He is preparing you to receive what He has for you in a way that will bring Him glory and honor. And when that moment comes, the moment when God's answer breaks through, it will be worth every second of waiting. You will look back and see how God has been working in your life all along. You will see that He has been with you every step of the way, strengthening you, encouraging you, and leading you forward. And when the answer finally comes, you will realize that it was worth the wait because it will be exactly what you needed. God's call on your life is not delayed. It is not denied. It is simply waiting for the perfect moment, the moment when you are ready to receive it. The waiting is part of His plan. It's in the waiting that your faith grows stronger. It's in the waiting that your trust in God deepens. It's in the waiting that you are being prepared for the incredible things God has in store for you. So hold on, my friend. Don't give up. Don't lose heart. Keep trusting. Keep believing. Keep waiting on the Lord, for He is faithful. His timing is always perfect. And when the answer comes, it will be everything you've been waiting for. It will be better than you ever imagined. You are closer to your breakthrough than you think. God is working and His plans for you are good. Keep your eyes on Him and trust His perfect timing.